Welcome to Soul and Spirit, where spirituality meets real life. I'm Summer Paradiso, a psychic medium, intuitive guide, yoga teacher, and artist here to help you reconnect with your highest self. Here, we dive into the practices that strengthen your connection to intuition, higher self, spirit, and source. We'll explore my signature Soul and Spirit method, a fusion of movement, meditation, and creative expression designed to help you release emotional blocks and reclaim your power. Because to move through life with alignment and ease, we must first embrace vulnerability. Whether you're just spiritually curious or fully immersed in the ocean of woo-woo, this is your space to explore grounded spirituality. Expect soulful convos, real-life stories, creative tangents, and grounded practices to support your transformation. So take a deep breath, grab your coffee, tea, or whatever keeps you sane, and let's explore how to bring more magic, meaning, and soul alignment into your everyday life. Let's do this. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to today's episode of Soul and Spirit. I'm Summer Paradiso, your host, and today we have a guest on the podcast. Her name is Megan Blacksmith. She is a speaker, NLP and hypnosis trainer, and mindset ninja. She is the founder of Blacksmith Training Company. She trains coaches, practitioners, and leaders with the tools for faster inner transformation without fighting themselves along the way through holistic NLP, a combining of the principles of NLP and her 10 years as a holistic health coach. Now, for those of you who don't know, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, and plainly said, it is the language of the mind, of the subconscious. And I have personally experienced Megan's magic on multiple occasions, whether it's been at an event or a training or a one-day workshop. And every single time I am a new person. The most transformative experience I had with Megan was early in March when I did my NLP certification training. And that was 6 days of very intense transformation and magic. So before this interview, I want to encourage you, if you're listening, if you hear it in her voice, this passion for helping people remove these beliefs that are limiting them, please, if you can, come to her October event because it's 3 days, it's in Virginia Beach, and it can be nothing short of pure magic. I talk about it a little bit more, and she talks about what it is too in the interview. I just wanted to make sure that I started with letting you know that you have a chance to experience it. Without further ado, I hope you're ready. Here's the interview. Okay, everyone, I have Megan here, the metaphor mindset ninja, and we have zero plans for our talk today, to be quite honest, because we are both big believers that whatever needs to happen or be said will be. So first, Megan, you got the formal intro. I would love to hear from you, who you are, where you came from. What do you want the people to know about you starting off?
I'm going to take you way back, Summer. To get to know me, I'm going to take you all the way back to kindergarten. There was a day when I'm on the playground and I'm standing over to the side and my parents are there and my parents are talking to the teachers. And it's close enough that I can hear them. They think I can't hear them and I can hear them. And they're saying, the teacher is saying, Megan she's a little bit slow. She's stepping back. She's never jumping in. She's never the first person to do anything. She waits for all the other kids to do things. And we're a little bit worried about her. And I'm hearing this and thinking, oh God, like I'm totally different. I'm not fitting in. She thinks I'm slow. She thinks I'm not good enough to be here. And so I'm taking this in as if this is truth. And luckily, I had amazing parents who just said she can do things at her own time. And I heard the conversation and I took this in. And I didn't realize that I took this in as something that I now needed to prove myself until I was in my 40s. And in my 40s, I ended up back in that event from a process that I was doing in NLP, a timeline process. And the cool thing in that process is you get to see it, not just what's happening, but you get to see it from a different perspective. And so I had zoomed out, and now I'm seeing that all the times that I'd played it really safe and really small was because of this moment where I was told I'm different. And I really felt like now I need to fit in and I needed to keep up. I need to be at the pace of others. And instead, I'm seeing this event. I'm like, I wasn't slow. I was literally stepping back, watching all these other silly kids do things like stick their tongue to the frozen pole and then thinking, not going to do that. I was modeling. I was actually watching to see what they would do and whether it was dumb or whether it worked. And then I did it, which is literally what I teach now. And so that kindergarten moment just came full circle of I made a decision about myself. And I also was a really powerful way of being, which I now teach other people. I am an NLP trainer and a hypnosis trainer. And NLP is the idea of modeling others who do things really well or where you do something really well in a different area of your life. And so back then, I was actually doing that. I was watching these kids and thinking, nope, not going to follow that one. Not going to follow that one into the ditch on my bike. That didn't look like it felt very good. And now I get to actually work with coaches and leaders and entrepreneurs to discover what was that moment for them? What was that kindergarten moment where they decided I have to be like everyone else, or I'm not good enough to be here, I don't fit in, and took on a different role. And we get to just take that back.
We get take backsies.
Take backsies from
So
kindergarten.
I love this, Megan, because you came out into this world as an observer and you're so good at spotting patterns and just in observing. And I remember when I first met you, because I was like, oh, she's kind of quiet, but it's because you're watching and you're just absorbing the energy and spotting patterns. And that's what makes you such a mindset ninja. Now, I'm curious, I know the answer to this, but I want my audience to know you help people come back to these memories, right? To their moment in kindergarten or their, moment at the dinner table or whatever it was. What do you do with these moments? What happens? Because I feel like in therapy, people revisit these moments and they can identify the emotions, but then that's pretty much it. What do you do different?
In in the work that we do and in these moments, it's not just going back there and revisiting in a way that's going to secure it in more. So that was something for those of you who are venters, right? You're like, well, what do you do when you're upset about something? You call your best friend. And then you tell your best friend all the bad things that just happened. And of course, your best friend is going to agree. Yes, those people suck. Yes, you are right, right? They're going to secure that in even more. And I found I was doing that until literally I had to make a pact with my best friend. We were like, no, this is not allowed. When we talk, we'll give each other maybe 1 minute, vent it out, and then now we're shifting into what else could this mean, which is what we're doing with those moments. We're going back and we're seeing now from a higher perspective, from the age and wisdom we have now. Can we look at that event and say, okay, now looking down on this event, what I got to see is, oh, that wasn't actually dumb. And that's not even what the teacher was saying. The teacher was looking out for my best interest. The teacher was saying, how do we need to encourage her? The teacher was saying, do we need other resources? And I heard, you don't fit in here. You're slow. So now, me literally going back to that event in my mind in a hypnotic state, I was able to just see that was not the meaning that anyone else made, which is why two people can be at the exact same event and one of them makes it mean one thing and one of them makes it mean something completely opposite. One of them, best day of my life, and one of them, that was humiliating. So what we make it mean is based on our filters, our model of the world, what's happened to us in the past. So I want to help people get to a point where they can pick out these moments where they were little. I mean, I was young. So of course I'm making a decision through the eyes and the age that I was then. Just revisiting though from a higher perspective, you could completely rewire what that has done and what you made it mean and change it. So that's always the goal, is what can we actually take from this that's empowering and for your future. And not saying that if someone was really mean to you in your past, it's not saying that this person is off the hook. It's not saying it wasn't a bad thing. It's not saying that that wasn't wrong. It's just saying, what are you now going to do with it? You are not
Mhm.
responsible for that. You are responsible, though, for what you're going to make it mean and how it's going to impact your life. So every single thing and event becomes a way to rewire and shift for how you want the future to play out.
Yes, I love this because I think something that drew me to NLP and to your training, and what I love about it is that you're returning the power back to the person. And again, you're not like other people aren't off the hook for their behaviors. We're not trying to make excuses for anyone. We are simply bringing the focus back to you, the person who experienced it. And that's my favorite part, because you're empowering the individual to take action and move beyond what happened without perceivably re-experiencing the traumatic event. Because at least from my experience with the quantum time technique that you were referring to, there's opportunity to go back and visit the event from a higher perspective and not engage with quite the nervous system overload that it was at first, which I think is beautiful. Now, so I I got to experience your training, and it was transformational to say the least. And to be a trainer, you would have had to do NLP training, lots of
Yes, I
it.
did.
So
Just a couple
I
times.
I wanna rewind back to your first training, and I wanna know what broke open for you personally. What really cracked you wide open in that first training?
I found training not specifically for business at the time. I actually found training because my husband and I were going through a really, really rough spot. And we had decided we're going to work through this, we're going to stay together. And there was just this little bit of anger, resentment. There was a feeling I couldn't fully forgive, although I wanted to. And I knew enough to know that this really was at a subconscious level. I knew I needed a tool to get to that deeper level. So my friend's like, I'm going to this training. I had no idea what I was getting into. I am a purchaser based on feeling. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is a full certification. Oh, there's a book. Oh, there's a test. I had no idea. Never would have signed up because I had the belief that I had too much going on. Funny thing is that, as you've learned, training itself is basically the antidote of when you do too much, when you're basically spinning your wheels, doing a lot, and it's not moving you. This is the thing that actually takes stuff off your plate. So, luckily, I ended up there anyway. And I'm there working through the process for me. And the biggest moment was when I'm working on my own feelings. And the trainer said to me, all right, Megan, it sounds like you've had a lot going on with your husband. Have you fully forgiven him? Have you fully forgiven Nate? And at that point, I was like, yes, I really have. And when I said yes, she knew it. I knew it. Like, it was very believable. We both knew it. And then she looked at me and she said, but have you fully forgiven yourself?
Mhm.
I was like, oh, yeah, gosh, that is it. I was holding myself accountable for not listening to my intuition, not standing up for myself, needing this pattern of people pleasing, needing like the codependency pattern that had brought us to where we were. Like, I was not just this innocent bystander that this happened to, right? Like, I played a
Mhm.
big part in where we were and where we got to, and I was just really still holding on to my role of that. By that end of that week, I had let that go. And the coolest thing, Summer, was that I had some health things that I wasn't coming to training for. I wasn't really even thinking about. I had this pattern where my skin would hurt, my body would ache, and there was this every 6 to 8 weeks, there was this pattern of kind of getting knocked out. And after that, that didn't happen to me for like the next 6 months. So there was just so much energy in this dynamic and relationship every single day of me battling me and going back and forth that was impacting my physical body, which of course I believe in and already knew consciously. And to see that this shift physically happened after that, I was like, okay, there's another this is another level of training than I thought I was going to. And I brought it back. At the time, I was actually still in health coaching. I was in the functional medicine space. So I wasn't really thinking I was going to bring this back to my business. I definitely wasn't planning on being an NLP trainer at that point. I was just there for me. I brought it into what I was doing working with women because there was a pattern of people, all the people I was working with who were very type A. They were like me. They were great at getting good grades. They were, on the sports teams. Like everybody loved them. And they're so good at following the rules that they were always following other people's rules and not listening to themselves or their intuition. I mean, the key of what you teach, right? They're just not attached to really who they are. And so those people were willing to do so much with their health, so compliant, right? Like, gosh, if I were meditating every day and getting in the sauna and eating so well, I would feel good. And their numbers, their hormones weren't shifting, their autoimmune numbers weren't shifting. It didn't add up. Like,
Mhm.
this doesn't add up. So that category of people, I realized, oh, I now have a tool because every conversation would lead to some moment when there's some event with their sister, there was something really early on, or there was some really strong belief of it's not safe to be in a smaller body or a different size body or a healthy body. We'd find it. And then before this point, I just didn't have a tool for it. Like, great, we found it. Now what? And then coming back from that training, I realized, oh, I have a tool. Not only can my health coaching clients get results so much faster, and they did, same supplements, same program, but now their numbers are shifting based on a subconscious shift, based on finding a kindergarten event. And it was blowing my mind so much that I went all in. I said, I want to learn this and teach other people this. I want to learn this so deeply that then I'm not just helping individual people. I can help coaches, practitioners, health coaches. We attracted a lot of functional medicine practitioners in the beginning. Now they have these tools, it spreads really quickly. So that one training led to personal breakthroughs, complete business change, shift, because in order to become a trainer, then you go to master practitioner and then you go to trainer's training, which was 18 days and the hardest thing I've ever did. So that has just completely broken me open, changed me forever. And I have the best job in the world, and you got to be there and experience it.
Yes, and if you guys don't know already, I'm ride or die for Megan. I'm at all the things. She's just one of my favorite people because she's so gifted at what she does. And I have so many questions swirling after you shared that. One of them is you said the skin condition went away, right? And then you mentioned that it came back 6 months later. And I'm only asking this because, we both know that our our evolution journey exists kind of as an onion and in layers, right? So, do you know what specifically brought it back? Did you have something else you needed to forgive yourself for that the skin condition came back, or do you know what layer of the onion revealed itself then?
Yes, because at that point I'd fully gotten into, in the master level practitioner, we get into some of what part of the physical body is then related to the emotional body and Dr. Hammer's work, so German New Medicine. So the skin can be related to separation conflict. And
Mm,
so that for me, I started to look through that lens. And so there were certain relationships in my life that now really needed to end as I was evolving. So here we are, exactly what you're saying, where I was at another level, I was at another layer of the onion. And as I grew, not everyone's going to grow with you,
Mhm.
which I think can be a big reason why some people don't want to grow. They're afraid to, lose. And you will have specific people and things that do leave your life. And what I've found is that because I am growing, then the people who come in just are also growing with you. Like you look around and you realize, yeah, it's not all the same people. And the people who are around me now are wanting to go where I'm wanting to go. So it's not really a lose ever. There's an exchange and the energy changes, but it's not necessarily a loss. So there was another layer of emotional work that need to be done at that point. And I always want to give people the understanding and the possibility and the hope that people, and I have seen it over and over, they have had skin health, autoimmune, different situations shift really, really quickly. And I also want to remind people that there are some people who have, like me, who are here for ever transformation and growth. And I believe people who are here to do the transformation work often, we need it the most. So I have stuff come back all the time. And I just think it's important. I share that a lot because I think the hardest struggle is when we think it's like it will be done at some point. The work
Yeah.
will be done. When will this one be over? I've already worked on this. And I get it. Sometimes you're like, really? This is back? And once you see it a little bit more of like a game and an evolution of, well, yeah, I'm at a new layer. So I'm, for example, and actually, I'd love to share this with your audience, Summer, since you are local, and I know some of your people are local, and lots of people are flying in. I'm going to be hosting an event here in Virginia Beach in October, and I have basically pushed myself before I was ready to push myself. So I rented a space that holds 200 people. And the largest event I've ever done is 50 people. So I just am like, well, by pushing myself to the next level, by opening up the space, then it will happen. And I know I will make it happen. And even my thinking already, because I was just looking and I haven't even officially announced the event. I haven't announced it to my email list. I haven't announced it on social. I have announced it at events and to all of our local community and all the people that, that have come to training are inviting their friends. And, there's 22 people who are going to be in the room already. And that would be half. Like
Yeah.
that would be half of my whole thing if I wasn't going for 200, right? So now I'm like, well, I'm 10% of the way there, whereas that would have been such a stretch, but because I stretched the boundary first, now the flow came in faster. Each layer though that I stretch myself, then a new layer of the beliefs and the can I do this? Am I good enough to do this? Am I worthy of this level of success? Those come right back around. And it's the same flavor as that I had at that first training. It's just at a new level. So it could easily feel like, oh, this again?
Yeah. Would you say, I understand that this is a very broad, generalized question, so go in whatever direction you wish, but would you say it gets easier with these tools?
Yes, 1,000%. 150,000%, as my
Okay.
friend on Survivor said recently.
I love that. Megan loves Survivor, guys, and I love that you love Survivor. I loved Survivor for a time. What is it about Survivor that you love? I feel like there's got to be some mindset, something with it.
I know it's really just funny because what Survivor's been on for, I don't know, 25 years. And I found Survivor last year with my kids looking for something that I could watch, they could watch. And I first started the obsession. They're all in on it now. I love the interplay of the humans trying to essentially become really close, but also deceive because that's part of the game. And then how they build bonds or how they go about it and then what actually works, it just fascinates me so
Mm,
much. And it's mindless. It's, amusing. It's like the shutdown, let's watch something silly. And I just do feel like there's so many kind of life lessons that come through in the Survivor because it's such an intense setting of not having food and not knowing who you're with, and people are out to get you. And that's kind of what the container of going to anything where you're transforming feels a little bit like that. You feel like, okay, I'm out of my regular environment. I don't know these people. Where is my food? It's cold in here. It's hot in here, right? That's literally some of the things that people struggle with the most in training is that the environment is not what they're used to or it's not comfortable in some way. And you get to see what do you do outside of your normal comfort zone? What do you go to? Do you go to shutdown? Do you go to flexibility? Do you go to I'm angry at everyone, right? Where do you go? And then you get to see your patterns through that. So you kind of get to see everybody's deepest patterns come out on that show because they're just stripped of their normal life comforts.
Well, and this really, I do, maybe I'll go back to Survivor, who knows, feeling inspired. The This makes me think of retreats and why I love retreats so much because when you are removed from, I always think of like the Google Map man, like lifting up and like placing you somewhere, somewhere that's not your house. But when you're placed somewhere that is not what you're used to, you're already primed for transformation. It's like the onion's been skinned for you. You didn't have to do any extra effort. Like you're already raw. And it is a vulnerable state to be in. And it is funny because the first moments at a retreat where everyone's kind of at the table, like quiet, like the ice isn't broken because everyone's kind of like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm pretty cranky, but I don't want them to know I'm cranky. And it is just really, it's an interesting environment. So, Survivor really should be studied then with the psychology of it and just the human behavior, which has it been? Do we even know if there's any studies of it?
Probably I have not done that research, and
Well,
summer I must stay away from it, or I might go down
a rabbit hole.
that about live events though. So I've had people say, plenty of people say, why don't you do the training? Why don't you do the NLP training online? And people do it. You totally can. I just have found that what you're talking about, even getting there,
Mm,
even just getting out of your own environment, there's so many patterns of do I deserve to leave my family for 6 days? I've had moms, not have ever gone anywhere and realized that there's no reason they couldn't. It was just a story. They had a story that everyone needs them to cook or something that they realized wasn't true. And so now that person who couldn't leave their kids, she the next year is like, now I'm on this beautiful retreat for myself that's so fulfilling. So that to me breaks something open that it's not going to happen online. One of my teachers, mentors, talks about how his belief from a spiritual perspective is that the amount of effort you put into going somewhere, doing something, you will get back. I think
yeah.
you and I are all on board with that. His argument though was, let's say, for example, someone was flying all the way to Paris to go to an event. They're coming to my event. I'm in Paris, let's just say to an event in Paris. And they fly, they get in the plane, right? It's a big investment money wise. They have to arrange a lot of things with their family, move work around. And when they get there, they're so delayed. Flight after flight after flight is so delayed that by the time that person gets there, the event that they went to is over. The 3-day event that they were going to and they paid for is over. His argument, and it sounds very real to me, is that that person will still have the same level of transformation, if not more, as if they went to the event they were going to. So the effort it took, the difference in what your normal life is to that, is what will come back to you, even if you didn't hear anything the speakers say. You're not with the actual people. And I believe that. I do believe that. And I see that happen with, people who, not that I want you to have a hard time getting to an event, but people who do, it takes them a bit more, or they are in for it and they are having huge, huge transformation. I love bringing that stuff online of how can we get the most out of it too, because there are times when you can't leave. It's just that I want people to have that experience. And if you can't come for 6 whole days, I get it. And that's why I'm doing the 3-day live event. Come experience 3 days of this. And actually, Summer, if anyone is listening and is interested in the 3-day, I would love to give a special
Yes.
investment for your crew. So let's do this on Instagram.
Okay.
So if they message me Summer so that I know you came over from Summer and say, Summer, and I want my $100 off, I'd love to give anyone in your audience $100 off the tickets. The tickets are $297 regular. So this is not even an hour of my time on one. This is 3 whole days. So the event is made to be very inexpensive to begin with so that everyone can get in the room and experience this if they have not. Everyone can at least get that 3 days magical community experience, because by the time they've experienced that, people are seeing what's possible. Now they're
Mhm.
seeing the people around them. I think one of the biggest things, I am a fiery Sagittarius redhead. And when I see people who are living conventional life that they don't want to be in, it really
Yeah.
fires me up,
Yeah.
because I was in the conventional world. I was an engineer for 8 years. I worked in a cubicle, and everyone said, you cannot leave that. You have good pay, you have benefits, you went to 5 years of school. And I get those are logically very good arguments. And thank God I was willing to bust out of that. I cannot even imagine, that was over 13 years ago. I can't even imagine being in a cubicle. And not that there's something wrong with cubicles if you're in one, not that specifically, but for me, and there's so many things, not just work, but there's so many things people are just staying in because that's what you're supposed to do or how it is. And it's not. My best friend here is building a whole community in Nicaragua. She's going to go live there. And when you're around people who think like that, they're like, well, what's your son going to do? She's like, he's in 4th grade. We'll figure it out. Right. But there's this, well, what if there's no sports? What if there's no other kids? What about school? And there's so many options when people around you are willing to think outside the box. And I know there were so many things I didn't even think were possible until other people said, hey, did you know you don't have to be the one cleaning your house, making the dinners? I did not know that. Thank you. Now I will not do that anymore.
Excellent. Okay, I gotta rewind here because this is so aligned with what I teach too, right? With this following of intuition, with this ability to free fall into a situation without knowing the how. And that is so hard for the general population to make a broad statement because people are quite often existing in fear because we're taught to exist in fear. And so when do you think you broke out of whether it was existing in fear or in the like when did you break out of your I'm supposed to era?
I had a home birth with my second child, and I was told that was not okay. I was told, one, you can't do that because we live on a military base and it's like not allowed. I don't know how they could not allow it. As it turns out, Summer, it is allowed if you just don't tell them. Other things is like my age at the time. There was all these reasons why I couldn't, shouldn't, air quote, do that. And I think that was one of the biggest decisions I made, because I did, and I had a very successful home birth on a, don't tell anybody, military base. And it just made me realize that the stories I'm being told aren't always true, aren't always real. And things worked out. I felt great. It was such a great postpartum because I had had not a great postpartum with my first child. So to experience 5 years later a completely different situation, it just made me start to question every decision. I think it was a slow creep up to that point, because at that point I had left the job. So I'd started to see the whole story of, well, yeah, but you'll never make it in the coaching world. And I had started to see the things people had said weren't possible were. So I was starting to have more and more evidence. Well, they said that would be bad, and that was great. And they said that's bad, and that turned out great. So they said you can't have the home birth, and I did. So it just built. But I do feel like that was a moment where I could very visibly see I am doing something some people say not to do or is not safe. And here I am. It worked out great.
It worked out great. And you have, we got to touch on this. You have some NLP babies. You you
Yeah.
you have two amazing daughters who are being raised by a mom who is so acutely aware of language. Can you share how your NLP journey has impacted your role as a mother?
One of my favorite stories is when my youngest was maybe 2, speaking, but barely. I don't know if that's 2, around there. And I was in a course where I was rewiring my money beliefs. And so I was listening to an evening hypnosis about I am abundant and all these great phrases, right? All these things I was wanting to believe and take on. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if the money beliefs were formed 0 to 7 years old, and now I'm rewiring them in my 30s and 40s, what if I just program her from the get-go for all these abundant beliefs? Now, of course, I know more now. Yes, like no matter what you do, life will happen and a small child will make a certain situation mean something, whether you like it or not. So there's going to be beliefs that are formed. This is just how it works. And I was one night with my little page just in her ear, just reading all these amazing, like, you are abundant and just all these lovely things. Now, she is a force to be reckoned with. And so, for whatever reason, she did not like me telling her and programming her these things. So, every time I said, you are abundant, she'd turn and she'd say, I'm not no abundant. And she just said, oh, anything I said. I think I even said, you own $1 million company. She's like, I not own $1 million company. And the
Right.
fun thing about language nerds and what you know from NLP is the subconscious mind doesn't hear not. So even though she was saying, I'm not happy and I'm not abundant, she was still programming herself. And she uses phrases like that all the time. She will say to me, well, I didn't hear not, mom, because the subconscious mind doesn't hear not. So you have to be really careful when you have these babies that are brought up on this stuff because they are language ninjas. And my 15-year-old will use sales tactics with me that I'm like, wait, how did she get me to buy that? That was impressive. So it's also been amazing from a as life happens and now getting into teenager land of things are happening to them. Things are happening that I remember going through as a teenager, and it feels so overwhelming as a parent to think, what do I do here? You know, other children are mean. Maybe they make poor decisions, and there's consequence, and you want them to learn the consequence and also feel loved and accepted at the same time. So I'm often sitting back with what decision is being made right now? Like, what is she deciding? And all I can do is hope that being present, listening, having compassion versus the guilt and shame that most of us were programmed with, because as a parent, you don't want to see your kid go through that, right? You don't want them to be hurting. So sometimes the knee jerk reaction is to get mad at them because you don't want them to go through that because you don't want to feel it. So it's I don't quite know what I'd be doing without the tools because it's a daily thing for us. It's daily for me working with them, or it's daily that something I'm seeing in them brings up something when I was that age. So every age we're going through, I'm like, oh, now we're dealing with the 15-year-old Megan. And it's the layer, it's the onion. So yeah, parenting without those tools is a different animal.
Say more kids, more onions.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to be able to utilize these tools with my kids as well. And anyone who does your training or a 3-day training, any sort of interaction with you is going to benefit, especially as, a parent or an auntie or just a general human. If you could say something to you like 10 years ago, like something that you know about the mind now, what advice or knowledge would you impart upon that version of yourself?
Well, what actually happened over 10 years ago was me panicking when having children, thinking, how am I going to not mess them up? Because I had great parents. I have great parents, small town, cookie cutter family. Dad owns the hardware store, mom stays at home. Really very smooth compared to what a lot of children go through. And so, because everything was so smooth for me, and then I still decided to be a teenager who got into all the things and made very poor decisions. I was really panicking. If I had a great upbringing and that's what I did, then what's going to happen to my children? Because their life was not as smooth. My husband and I were not together when my oldest was first born. We had split up. He was in the military. He deployed 3 times when they were little. Like, it wasn't as stable at all. So I'm thinking, well, what's going to happen here? If I could go back to that person and just say that the life is going to life no matter what you do. And it's not this situation equals great results and this one equals bad ones. It's literally how each one is perceived by the child and then whether it's addressed and perceived by you. And so it kind of ended up being none of it really matters whether life is chaotic or life is smooth, as long as you take each individual thing and help your child work through it, help you work through it. There was so much pressure I was putting on myself to create the specific environment, but the environment is not going to matter as long as you're actually addressing each individual thing that comes your way. And I want people to know that there is no perfect thing you can do as a parent. All you know is that if you're willing to give them the resources and get the resources for yourself, then you'll be fine and they'll be fine. It's more about addressing the ups and downs when they come versus trying the struggle to not have them is a painful struggle. Thinking like, well, if I get it all set up, then they'll be a great teen or they'll go right into the career they love. And you don't know. You don't know what they're here to go through.
Yeah, I feel like if we could bumper sticker that, it's almost like, or at least what I'm taking is, as long as you are acknowledging someone's perception, you're, you're meeting them where they are, as opposed to sweeping it under the rug or trying to control everything externally when we know that something's going to happen internally no matter what.
Yes, whatever they make it mean.
Hmm.
I
Wow.
went to an intuitive healer at that point and I said, I'm so worried about this. How am I not going to screw my kids up? And she gave me the best phrase ever that has stuck with me. She just paused me. She heard me going into a spiral about, oh my God, I'm going to be a horrible mom. How am I even going to do this? And she's Megan. She's like, time out. She said, you did all that chaos in your teens and 20s, so they don't have to.
Mm.
That's all you need to know. It's like, okay. And I took it on. I decided to believe that they weren't going to need to go through that level of chaos. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. And I chose to just take that on. This isn't now I'm not working my whole life to make sure they don't do the thing I did because we all know what happens when you want to make sure your kids don't do what you did,
One.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, if anybody else wants to take that on, it's anything you did that you're not proud of or you're hoping your kids will never do. I know plenty of people are like, yep, really, really hope my kids don't do what I did. Um, Maybe you did that so they don't do.
That's good. I'm going to remind myself that and maybe make another bumper sticker. That one and put it on my fridge.
Right?
Oh,
Stickers.
well, Megan, I know we could talk forever.
We could.
Very much so about metaphors and beliefs and all the things. Before we go, I do want to mention to everyone, like, make sure you message Megan,
Yes.
my name, on
Blacksmith
Instagram,
Training Co. on Instagram.
and we'll drop the link in the show notes. And I just want to say that my first experience with Megan, well, it was at Elevate and Inspire, but my first experience of a workshop you did, it was 5 hours total. It was on a Monday. I remember this so vividly because it was a turning point in life. And what Megan did and what the environment she created in those 5 hours, I had a retreat level transformation. And so if you can go see her and interact with her magic for 3 days. I am not someone who identifies as a mathematician, but if I don't know how many hours but that's a lot more transformation.
More than 5.
It's more than 5. So if you are thinking about it at all, then please come because you will not leave the same person in the best way. So Megan, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And I hope that you get lots of my name in your inbox.
I hope that too. I'll be looking for it.
Okay.
Oh, isn't Megan just the best? Guys, I love her, and I'm so happy that you guys got to experience her magic and part of her story on today's episode. If you are interested in her October event, again, make sure that you DM her my name so that you can get some dollars off your ticket. You do not want to miss it. That is for daggone sure. And another thing you don't want to miss is my current workshop series that I'm holding. I'm hosting a 3-part live video series on how to connect to your intuition. This series started last Thursday, and don't worry, there's a replay, and it will continue tomorrow, Tuesday, May 19th. Thursday, May 21st, and there will be a bonus question class on the day after Memorial Day, which is May 26th. The link to join is in the show notes. Again, it is completely free, and the focus of this workshop is my stinking passion, guys. It is to help you connect back to your inner authority through recognizing signs and symbols with your intuition, interpreting the symbols and signs, and then being able to take action confidently with unshakable self-trust. Because too often I hear about people talking about oh, I had this feeling, or oh, I saw this sign, or oh, I see repeating numbers, but I don't really know what they mean. There's so many people walking around, just like you, who are seeing signs and not knowing what to do with them, not knowing how to apply these messages to our everyday life. And I want that to change. I want people to feel so strong and sturdy in their intuitive knowing that they don't waver if everyone else around them disagrees. They know with 100% certainty that what their intuition is saying is true. So if you want to join us, there is still time. You can watch the replay of last week's and join in with us tomorrow. The link is in the show notes, and that's it. I'll see you guys next week. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you are listening, I am grateful for you. I love you, and I hope you have the best day ever.
Thanks so much for listening to Soul in Spirit. If this episode moved you, sparked something, or just made you feel a little more like yourself, I'd be so grateful if you left a review or shared it with someone you love. It helps more souls find this space and join us in raising the collective vibration. If you have questions, thoughts, or just want to share what came up, I'd love to hear from you. DM me on Instagram or email me anytime. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and keep showing up, because the real magic shows up when you do. With so much love, see you soon.